You know how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always repeatedly telling us
Mm,
to reflect,
mhm,
to think, to observe, to look at history, always encouraging us to use our minds and to reflect and to ponder and to contemplate. Uh, if it's like the old sort of advice for a lawyer. Never ask a question to a witness that you don't know the answer to,
mhm.
because you don't want to be surprised by their answer.
Yeah.
So those who are in power want to make sure that you have the answer that we want you to have. Therefore, we don't want you to be left to your own contemplation. We don't want you to be left to your own reflection, your own pondering, your own thinking, because you might come up with answers that don't serve our interests.
Mm,
So we have to stop that process. We have to control that process. We have to implant the answers in you that we need for us. So I think this is one of the reasons why critical thinking is not encouraged at all, but also why there is such a presentation and almost it's almost forced upon you what the issues are.
mm. The
We will
issues
force
are
upon
forced
you,
on you. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't want you to tell me what the issues are, because that's not in my interest as someone in power. I'm not interested in your issues. I need to tell you what your issues are, so that maybe whatever real issues you have, I never have to deal with that and you don't have to think about it. We never have to have that conversation. What your actual issues are, like the fact that you can't pay your rent, the fact that you can't pay for childcare
Mm.
and what have you. We're not going to talk about that. I will tell you that your issue is whether abortion rights should be determined on the federal level or the state level.
Yes.
This is the most important thing in your life,
Mm.
because that way we never have to talk about the things that are important in your life.
Haitians eating pets.
Haitians are eating the dogs and eating the cats, and Venezuelans are taking over apartment blocks in Colorado. I want
Many
you to think about things yourself, because you might come up with the wrong answers.
So much agency being stripped from a person is you're literally taking the human element out of a human being, and then you look at the society and you wonder why depression, anxiety, a lack of focus and attention deficit disorders, every manner of mental health, it keeps cropping up. I mean, you keep taking human elements out of human beings, you leave a husk full of problems and struggling on so many levels. I think that there's a pretty common belief that I would say many believe and forgive me if this is an exaggeration, but many believe that the only way to force someone to do something that they don't want to do, or to believe something that simply is not true, is through some type of brute force. If you don't put a proverbial gun to my head, if you don't strip me of my rights and my dignity, there's no way I'm going to just buy whatever you're selling. I'm not just going to feed into whatever it is that you're giving me. That's what most people would like to think, but obviously that simply is not the case. Otherwise, many things in the world that are happening would not happen, and Americans would see a lot more agency, would really take their government to task, obviously in peaceful and meaningful legal ways to actually uphold these rights and these limits. I want to speak more to the covert and cerebral approach that makes propaganda, indoctrination, such a powerful tool for coercion of the masses, despite the fact that many people, and I think this is fair to say, many people believe that they are 100% independent of propaganda's influence over them.
I mean, first, sort of connecting it to what you said just now about people believing that only brute force could coerce them into supporting something or believing something that they don't already believe, or uh, that goes against their interests or what have you.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe there was a time in human history when that was the case, when people had that level of integrity and that level of clarity. Maybe there was a time, uh, but that's not even the case with Muslims. That's not even the case with people who have strong belief and
Mm.
strong morals.
Mm.
Because the fact of the matter is that when you do have strong beliefs and strong morals, those can be manipulated. Those things can be used
Against
to manipulate you to do something that is actually against your interest, as long as you believe that you're doing it for reasons that affirm your morality and your beliefs. I always, when I talk about propaganda, I always go back to Iblis, Shaitan. How does he get you to do wrong?
Mm.
By telling you that this is the wrong thing? By forcing you? No. By making you think it's good. By making you think it's good. Making you think that this is the best thing you could possibly do.
Mm.
Uh, uh, this is propaganda. This is indoctrination. This is brainwashing. This is manipulation, and this is how it works.
Mm.
You create an identity for people that has a certain characteristics, a certain as I say, morality or principles that are attached to that identity, and then now I have to support this thing or that thing because, well, that's what I believe in,
Mm.
and I'm not able to look at it independently. And again, as I say, you're not encouraged to reflect with your own independent mind. Now your mind is in this box, in this identity box, and this is the only response possible when you're in this particular box. You understand?
Yeah.
This is the definition of the good and right response according to the rules of the box. And if you're out of that box, then we don't know what you're going to do. You might actually make an independent decision, and you're not. That's a problem. That's
Can't have
chaotic.
that. Mm.
Yeah. And then there's the fact that people themselves, especially in the West, by the way, I think the West is obsessed with categorization.
Yeah.
They're absolutely
100%.
obsessed with categorization
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and labeling and what they think of as putting things in order. They think of it that way. That's what we're doing. We're putting things in order. But the problem is that
Taxonomy.
once you
Yeah.
right. But once you put it in this order, you can't tolerate anything that doesn't meet the rules of that order, and then you'll just be in denial about it. You know what I mean? Like there can be no anomalies. Uh, it, it- Everything has to be forced into that. So, for example, as I said, if you're a liberal, if you're in that liberal box, we've categorized you as such, and you have now categorized yourself as such, then there's only one position you can take on an issue like abortion or feminism or what have you. And when you have uh, emphasized in your society, in your culture, the importance of this type of uh, ordering of things and categorization of things, uh, people will naturally feel uncomfortable in areas that haven't been categorized, that haven't been put in that kind of an order. They will feel uncomfortable and insecure, and you take all of the thinking out of it for them. Now you don't have to do that work. Now I will relieve you of the anxiety
The burden.
associated with things not being labeled and categorized.
Mm. Thinking.
Now I will alphabetize everything for you. You
Mm.
can relax,
Mm.
you know, and that takes the thinking out of it. So this has to do with the numbing of people, as we were talking about, and this all has to do with the covert methods. No force is necessary.
Mm.
No force is necessary at all in order to get people to do what will affirm for them that they themselves are good. If you can find a way to make it affirming for them that they're good and that they are a force of virtue and goodness in the world and they're standing up for what's right, you can get them to do all sorts of evil.